climate change. I can't just sit back and not do anything. And we've been wanting for a while to kind of, join in a local community for the environment. Really want to get involved. It's such a kind of like anxiety-inducing thing. Like we're so frightened about the future. It seems to be the best way to kind of reduce that anxiety and actually feel like we're doing something.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to have lots of conversations with the people nearby because I still very much feel like the crisis, the dire severity of it hasn't arrived yet at people's understanding. So we need to have lots of conversations, which is what we're doing. At the same time, this disruption of blocking the road sitting here causes the media to pay attention, causes for you to ask me for an interview and other people to listen and to hear what we've got to say. And so the more we disrupt, as unfortunate as it is that we need to disrupt average people's lives, that is what brings our message across, that is what puts pressure on the political system to finally change.
Human Rights Act, everyone has the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and to freedom of association with others, including the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of their interests. If you're here today, it might be because you consider yourself a rebel. If you're here today, it might be that you're just like, look, I've seen it. I'm not in Extinction Rebellion, but you know what? I want to stand up. We're in this together and we trust each other to get the shit done. We're in the fight for our lives. You got our main man, David King, right? Boss man. What's he been saying? We've got 3 years, 4 at best, to stop irreversible climate damage. And we know who is suffering the most. It's people that look like me, but they're in the South world. Know here, by being here, one of the #1 anti-racist things you can do is by stopping the fossil fuels. It's one of the #1 things that you can do. No new licenses, no new drilling. That's what we're demanding right now. I'm seeing this, I can't really see. Right. We know how we do this. We do this with non-violent civil disobedience. It's something that we've lent on from the past. Martin Luther King, with his rights and struggles in America, used this technique down to a pound. Right? We take inspiration from the suffragettes. We take inspiration from Gandhi, his basic principles. He was everything. But in the fact he believed in non-violent direct action, we follow in his footsteps. We know that if we go look back through history when there's violence, when they want the people of art to change, they've not been successful. But when non-violent direct action is used, you're 3 times more likely to win. You get me?
It felt like the time I had to do more than just vote the right way or stop doing personal things like not driving the car, and I thought things have got to change. Things have got to change. And it's obvious this year that nothing's changing. Nothing's changed in the health system, nothing's changed in social care, nothing's changing at all. The government does not think to change. And they'll do it. That tells you all to know about climate change. They will do nothing unless they're forced to.
I'm here because I've got a 2-month-old grandson, 2 months old today, and I think about him and what his future might look like. And then I think about other children born on the same day in other parts of the world, maybe sub-Saharan Africa. What will their futures look like? And their futures are grim, and that's why I'm here today.
report, but the executive summary of a report that was pointing out the difference between the 1.5 degrees sea world and a 2 degrees sea world. And I was devastated. And I realized at that point how grave the situation was. So I looked around at different groups, including Greenpeace, but I thought we need a bigger boat than that. So I joined Extinction Rebellion, and I never regretted it because I found that, you know, with lovely people we can make a difference.
I learned about the dire science of this science around climate breakdown and what it looks like for all life on Earth, and I was devastated. I was really feeling the grief and the anxiety and the anger and not knowing what to do about it as an individual. So I looked around whether there was anybody doing anything appropriately, and for like literally a few years there wasn't anybody. I've known about this for a while, and it was really horrible to live with that, to all those emotions and not knowing what to do. And then eventually I stumbled on, I went to a talk, Heading for Extinction, What to Do About It, it was called, and learned about Extinction Rebellion, acknowledging what I knew about the science, very true, and I was like, yeah, that's it. And then they were like, yeah, we've got a plan. And so I was like, oh, wow, there's a committed group of people with a plan. That's me, I got to join them. Even though, you know, I don't like to disrupt people's lives. I knew this was what needs to happen now.
Dangerous time, hold fast to love. Gonna be anything. Hold fast to love, hold fast to love.
Whose future? Whose future? Climate change is a war. Climate change is a war. Say this right, I hope you don't mind. What irritates me about this whole thing is that the youth's voice is always lost. They're the people and the kids who are going to have to live through this crappy bullshit. We're not going to accept that we need to make serious changes. So like, big up our XR youth. Anyone from Brazil, the Americas? Put your hand up. Anyone from the Americas? All right? Bad news, guys, we go first. Bad news, we go first. Remember what happened when they came out of COP and went, I'm 0.5, we can't be bothered with that. We don't want to do that. We want to go for 2. West Indies is fucked. That's Jamaica, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Kitts, Nevis.
There we go.
Shed loads of islands. We go above 1.5, we're fucked.
Say that because climate change is a war of the rich against the poor. Climate change is an attack on the working class of this world. It's an attack on working class people and oppressed people. And it's an attack that's carried out and directed by the ruling class. It's carried out by the multinational corporations, many of which have headquarters and offices in this city, on this street. It's carried out by the governments which exist to support those multinational corporations and protect their capitalist interests. We're not beyond politics. No one is beyond politics.
I am a social scientist and a climate scientist. I'm here because I'm terribly worried about climate migration. And if you've seen what just one country can do, so you've got a war in Ukraine and suddenly 4 million people are moving. I want you to imagine 50 times that. That is what we're looking at in the next 20 to 30 years. It's not going to be sudden. It's not like 200 million people are all of a sudden going to show up in Europe and around the world, but it will gradually increase to the point where we might get up to 1 billion people move. And that, my dear friends, my dear fellow rebels, is the single biggest migration movement on the planet in the history of humankind by a very long shot, by multiple orders of magnitude. And my personal view is that climate migration will break human society much sooner than actual climate change. It's not going to be the temperature around here or in the global north. It is going to be the movement of people that will cause immense suffering in places where climate change is already biting, where 30 to 40% of people around the planet already experience 1.5 degrees of warming or more. It's only going to get worse. And if you're like me, you would rather move than starve. If you're like me, you would rather keep your family safe. If you're like me, you don't want to die of thirst. And so around the global south, where all of these issues are already biting, people will move. And actually, migration is an adaptive strategy. It is right that they move. I would do the same, so would you. Around the world, in South America, there are millions, tens of millions, preparing to move up north. In Southeast Asia, if you think about Bangladesh alone might have 40 million people having to move out of their homes. Some of them will move up north because the ocean's encroaching. Some of them will move across countries to India and neighbors. And some of them will move to this country and other places in Europe. And from Africa, the Sahel, you're going to have millions and millions of people moving up north. And unless you are prepared to pull up a fence that is tens of thousands of kilometers long, and unless you're prepared to lift your rifles and shoot at people in the millions, you're going to have to accept them. And it is a special, special moment, because normally when migration occurs, it's random and it's sudden. But right now we have this golden moment where we know migration is going to occur. We know it's going to happen. 200 million to 1 billion people are going to move in the next 30 years. We have 20 years to prepare for this if we start now. Or we can be taken by surprise, in which case this society will break, not because of 1.5 degrees of warming in London, but because of 2-3 degrees of warming in the global south. Thank you.
Eat less meat and stop using fossil fuels.
One thing they could do is to engage in non-violent direct action.
Well, it depends where they are and where they live, but unfortunately, recycling or taking shorter showers is not enough anymore because the crisis is so dire. The science is very clear. So what we know is that looking at history, changing the political systems, putting pressure on the political systems is what's now necessary. So I encourage them to join a movement nearby. If they're in the UK, Extinction Rebellion is probably the biggest one, most accessible one, because there's local groups everywhere. You just go on the map.extinctionrebellion.uk, you find your group and off you go. If you're in a different country, Australia, Fireproof Australia is a great group blocking motorways now. There's people in Germany, in the United States, in most countries there are now people taking direct action. Non-violent direct action is the best way to make the change. So find your group, join it.